This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest. It's time to achieve your financial ambitions. Earn more on your savings with a SoFi Bank high-yield savings account, ditch your high-interest credit card debt with a SoFi personal loan, or start investing on an easy-to-use platform with SoFi Invest. Wherever you are on your financial journey, SoFi's got you covered. Learn more at SoFi.com/SXM.
Ever walk past a place for rent and wish you could just take a peek inside? Maybe even explore the layout. Envision the natural light streaming through the windows. Or plan where your vinyl record collection would go. At Apartments.com, you can. With tools like their 3D virtual tours, you can see the exact unit you could be living in. Really envision yourself in your new home with Apartments.com, the place to find a place.
Welcome to True Crime Garage. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Nick, and with me, as always, is a man who knows that the more it hurts, the more it works. Here is the captain.
My prediction for the fight is pain. It's good to be seen and good to see you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend.
Today, we are still sucking down some good lager, frosty mug style. This is Harbor Lager, complete with Pilsner and Vienna malts, with a touch of Munich to get that light bread malt aroma, dressed up a bit with some American Crystal Hops Garage Grade 4 out of 5 bottle caps. And here's some cheers to our good garage friends. First up, raise them high. Cheers to Rachel from Wisconsin.
Yeah, and the big tall cans in the air goes out to Robin Jennings and Morrisville, PA.
And last but certainly not least, here's a cheers to Lauren Stokeling from Pittsburgh, PA. Everyone we just mentioned went to truecrimegarage.com and contributed to this week's beer fund, and for that, we thank you.
Yeah, BWRUN Beer Run. If you need more true crime for your earballs, then check out our show on Patreon or Apple Podcast subscription. That's True Crime Garage Off the Record. Join us for another beer in the garage and more true crime. And Colonel, that's enough of the business.
All right, everybody, gather around, grab a chair, grab a beer. Let's talk some true crime. When we left off, Captain, we have Adam Saleh. He's locked up. He's waiting to go on trial. And then at trial, we were talking about the different individuals that he spent some time with in the Franklin County Jail, who he was talking to, interacting with, and it seems like he was trying to pull some strings, the old puppet master style, from inside the jail to help in his defense. And he's trying to establish alibis. He's also telling individuals what he did, making, let's call them confessions while he's in there. And these inmates will testify. Now, the thing I find intriguing about their testimony, one, of course, what they're saying, but more so that they are coming forward for the most part saying this independently of one another, that these are different conversations that took place at different times with different individuals. Now, some of the details vary a bit as well, which one could point to, well, maybe this kid's just talking out of his behind.
Beehole.
There's information in these statements that would not be known to the public. So this is not something that somebody could have picked up a newspaper and read or saw it on the news and then ran to the police with it.
Like you said, when you have details that nobody else should know, that carries a lot more weight with this captain.
Well, in this case, I love them because this is information that proves that these are factual, and anybody that helps solve a case, anybody that's willing to help convict a bad guy and get them off the streets, is a friend of mine, let's say. We already talked about two of these inmates that testified. We have a Kendall Martise who also testified. He's saying a lot of the same stuff that the Ryan Banks guy said, that Adam told him that he met Julie at the bar, sexually assaulted her, allegedly said that he threw the ID card Julie had onto the side of the road. I don't know how much information he provided as to the details with where he tossed the ID, but it sounds like the ID card was not public until the trial portion of the story rolls around. He also said something to the effect that he was glad that Julie's body had decomposed because he believed that it would hold no evidentiary value. He said to this man, Kendall, that he was concerned about his cell phone pinging off of towers near where the body was found. To be fair, this man testified and said, look, he never directly told me that he killed Julie.
Right.
But he made all these, he kind of made all these cryptic comments along the lines of knowing how or what happened. Now, this is the part with this Kendall's testimony that kind of goes above and beyond of some of the other things that we've already discussed here. He said that Adam asked him to find a woman who could provide a false alibi by claiming that she had been with Adam during the time that Julie disappeared. Adam allegedly saying that his mother was providing an alibi for him that placed him at home in bed and sick from drinking, but he was worried. Look, he was worried that his mom might back out of this. And he also said, if possible, he'd like to keep his mom out of it.
On record, her story changed multiple times. So either there's some truth to what she's saying or it's complete bullshit. And the pressure of that and law enforcement pressure on her, what are you going to do? Have her testify? What story is she going to say? Story 1, 2, 3, or 4? To me, this is a kind of a sticking point because by him saying, hey, my mom's kind of an alibi, but she might back out. Well, that kind of, to me, that lends to the idea of why her story keeps changing, because she's trying to create an alibi that's not there.
Right. And then knowing that she will have to testify under oath could back out, meaning she doesn't stand by any of her claims.
Absolutely.
This is the really damning part here. And this, we see this rarely in these cases, but when we do, this is rarely does anything in these stories terrify me. This is one thing that terrifies me on a multi-level view here. So this man is who he's talking to, Adam's allegedly talking to, is about to get out of jail, right? In a short period of time after this conversation, he's going to be getting out. It's alleged that Adam talked to him and said, look, I will pay you when you get out. I'll pay you. Go and find a couple of these witnesses for the prosecution and harm them or intimidate them so they do not testify or will recant. I don't want them to testify against me at trial. I also would love if they recant their statements that they told to police. So he's trying to control everything here. And then we have another inmate. This is Michael Levisi, who testified, look, I didn't have any conversations with Adam, but I overheard this conversation where he's trying to pay this man once he gets out to harm and intimidate prosecution witnesses.
Yeah, this guy sounds like real P. Diddy.
We also have Melvin Dameron. He's another inmate. He testified that Adam told him Julie was getting stupid, so he escorted her down some steps and outside from the bar. Dameron said he did not want to hear any more because he had a daughter. Before Dameron was released from jail, Adam allegedly asked him to call in an anonymous tip. Okay, so he says, look, you're getting out. When you get out, call in an anonymous tip and say that you saw Julie near the Hoover Reservoir or somebody matching her description near the Hoover Reservoir on this date, on the date of her disappearance, and describe her being with a man. And here's a description of the man that I want you to provide to the police. This isn't just spoken word, man. Adam allegedly gave Dameron a note with the details so he wouldn't forget the description of the man.
Yeah, so there's a lot of conversations happening, but he's also passing notes to multiple inmates.
And listen to this. This is how great this guy is. At trial, they read the description that was provided on the note. Pretty much everyone agreed that it looked like Adam's friend who was with him that night.
Well, that's nice of him.
Like, oh, yeah, hey, I'll let's put this on my friend. So Dameron gives this note to his attorney, who contacted the police. The note makes its way to the police. FBI document examiner Janet Brown testifies at trial that the handwriting on the notes connected to, there was a note for one guy who testified, Witherspoon, and Dameron, and another inmate as well, that it was her opinion that this handwriting matched that of Adam's.
Yeah, because he's going to say, I had no communication with these guys. They're all making it up. You can't believe these guys. They're criminals. And so they go, okay, well, we got all these testimonies, plus we got these notes. And then he's going, that's not my handwriting. I didn't write those notes.
They did address something at trial as well, because the defense pushed forward the idea that Julie might have suffered a fatal injury from falling off the bar.
Yeah. And we have eyewitnesses of that. So that's something you're going to have to explain away.
Yes, if the defense presents the idea, you're going to have to address it, and they do. And the doctor testified that Julie did not have a fractured skull, and saying that if Julie had died from a head injury after falling from the bar, she likely would have had a skull fracture or would have shown severe symptoms such as headaches, dizziness, pain, or nausea beforehand.
Well, and because of the decomposition, I'm guessing the toxicology report is not going to be something of much value. But what I have a problem with, especially in a case like this, is where people go, well, she was heavily intoxicated. Was she? Do we have record of how many drinks that she had? I understand she's dancing on the bar, she falls off the bar, but this is a college bar. She's 20 years old. Adam's 20 years old. There's a bunch of 20-year-olds going to this bar. Why are they going? Because they will serve you. You can give them whatever bullshit ID and they'll serve you. And what do we know about the Ohio State campus? Multiple bars and bartenders that I've talked to said, "Oh yeah, we have spiked people's drinks before, or we have overserved girls before, or in this situation where you're hanging out with a bunch of friends, maybe you're not watching your drink, and is there a possibility that somebody like a creep bag like Adam would put something in your drink?" So you'd be more intoxicated. So you'd be easier to control.
There was a man named Larry Smith. So he testifies that his uncle lived about 100 yards from where Julie's body was eventually found. Smith and Adam knew each other, and Smith testified that Adam had been to that location at least once, or maybe on more than one occasion that he could recall. So this suggesting that Adam was familiar with that area of Smothers Road near where Julie's body was found. The defense called its witnesses too, who placed Adam with friends and family and attempted to support his claim that he left Lido's alone and went home sick from drinking. So there were a couple of persons that will testify that Adam left with them. Now, what it sounds like to me here, Captain, is a statement of, oh, we all walked out at the same time. Right. We didn't ride home together, but we walked out at the same time. Well, one of these individuals, sorry, I'm trying not to laugh here. Christopher Klein is the name of one of these individuals that testified on Adam's behalf. He's saying, hey, we all left together. This is the good buddy that matches the description that the inmates said Adam had provided as a possible alternative suspect.
Yeah, they
falsely linked to Julie. Like, not only is this your guy, your boy, but he shows up to your trial and testifies on your behalf. And, oh, you were trying to get him locked up for a murder.
Yeah. Scumbag.
Real stand-up dude. Adam's mother did testify, and I mean, we can go through this if you like, but
no, thank you.
It's as you say, her story changes, and then what is introduced because of she gives multiple stories, And some of this she does say, look, I didn't know to admit the first time that he stopped by here and we ordered a pizza. I didn't mention that I took his keys and he walked home and got sick. So she's not only changing the story, but also kind of setting it up in a way that it doesn't look so damning that the story is changing. And what this brings in is another witness or alleged witness who owns the pizza shop next door to the carryout, who says, I saw Adam that night as well, and I was the one that provided the pizza to him and his mother that night.
Not saying that this eyewitness is lying, but this is also a common occurrence that he would stop by his mother's work. And they would eat pizza. So you go, is this that night or is it a different night? But also, it doesn't explain away the cell phone pings. It doesn't change any of that time frame.
But the short of it would be that the defense presented several alibi-related accounts, but prosecutors, rightfully so, argued that the timelines did not fit together. And so the timelines and these alibis are contradicting one another. Further, they're all contradicted by his cell phone records.
Right, but also if you're the jury and you have seen proven evidence that he's trying to establish different alibis or to threaten other witnesses, it's hard to believe any of these people because let's just say he did go to his mother's work that night. And let's just say he got a pizza, but he then gets his mom to convince the pizza guy, just move your story back 15 minutes. And so it's hard to believe really any of the witnesses that the defense is bringing up in this trial.
Yeah, I want to take a quick look at the cell phone. So the cell phone information at 2:26 a.m. puts him out on Route 161. That route led toward Smothers. So the most direct route would be you go 161, then you go up Route 3 and hang a right onto Smothers would be the most direct route. And we have his phone putting him on Route 161 at 2:26 a.m. You know, it's crazy here. There's a chance, I don't think it's very likely, but there's a chance he may have done something to her, went and stopped by at that 2:00 marker and was where his cell phone put him at 2:26. So
yeah, it's a difficult story because in all these cases, to me, you got to go from A to B to C, and how do you get there? So to me, he's hanging out with Julie on the patio. They decide to leave. The confrontation happens. She's either in the back of the car or she's in the trunk of the car. He could then go to visit his mom, and again, her story changes. So one of the stories is that she smells alcohol on him and she's like, here, give me your keys. And then there's another story where she says she's actually in the car and tells him, I can smell the alcohol on you and you need to park the car. And so, but there's a possibility that Julie's in the trunk as he goes to visit his mom. But this guy has a criminal mind. So after the criminal act, you go, well, she's in the trunk. I'll drop by my mom's work and there's my alibi.
Well, and look, you can and probably should deny. And that's going to be the short of his testimony at trial. He does give a story of being at the duplex party. He says then he stopped at his mother's carryout to tell her where he would be. He said he drank vodka, suggesting that his mother would not be able to smell the alcohol on his breath before he went out. So then he goes to Lito's after that. He admits to drinking beer and liquor there. He said he spent most of his time with his 4 friends. He did say he did dance with a girl he had been dating, but he didn't dance with Julie, according to his testimony. He said, I may have been dancing near her, so, while dancing in a group, so maybe someone on the other side of the room might have thought that I was dancing one-on-one with Julie, but I wasn't. It was just misinterpretation. He testified that left Lito's between 1:20 and 1:30 a.m. with a group of friends and went to his mother's store. admitted that the pizza shop owner asked him to go to the store for napkins and plates. Mom smelled alcohol on his breath, took his keys, and parked the car across the street. He said he took home a pizza, felt sick, got sick, then went to bed. He said his mom did call him twice, asking if she should bring him home food. The thing here, though, is he denied talking to, look, he denies killing her. He denies any involvement in her disappearance or death. He denied talking to inmates about the case. He denied confessing to anyone. He denied asking anyone to provide a false alibi. He did admit removing the GPS tracker when he said he found it on his car. He denied writing incriminating notes and said that the FBI handwriting expert must be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time that handwriting experts, interesting to talk about. I love exploring that angle in different cases. I don't put a 2-ton weight onto their opinion. Now, this is interesting. I didn't confess to anybody. I didn't ask anybody to provide an alibi. I didn't talk to any of the inmates, blah, 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 blah. Because what we have here is a testimony from an undercover police officer named Caroline Castro. She was posing. Remember, the inmate passed the note to his attorney and said, "What do I do with this?" The attorney took it from there, worked with the police, and he needed a girl. He was looking for a woman to say, she was with me that night at the time that Julie disappeared, or Julie was last seen at Lito's. So they set that up, and they set him up. They sent in an undercover female police officer to the jail to meet with Adam on more than one occasion, and they spoke over the little jail phone. And according to this testimony, the undercover officer says, yes, Adam did want me to provide a false alibi. Yes, Adam did want me to say that I was with him when Julie disappeared. So to me, very much proof. And look, you might not believe the first inmate. Gets a little harder with the second one, with the third one, with the fourth one, and then with an undercover officer. And also they're at the jail talking on the phone on more than one occasion.
And it's pretty simple. You get caught in a lie. It's hard to trust anything this individual is saying.
Absolutely. If you thought he had any credibility at the start of the trial, it's weakening and breaking and crippling before your eyes. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You've heard about therapy with BetterHelp, but do you know how much people love it when they use it? See for yourself. Check out amazing customer reviews, updated every day at betterhelp.com/reviews. You'll find hundreds of people sharing how much BetterHelp has helped them. The feedback from people who have used BetterHelp speaks for itself, because BetterHelp has an average live therapy session rating of 4.9 out of 5, based on over 1.7 million client session reviews. It's no wonder more than 6 million people have used BetterHelp globally. Haven't tried it yet? BetterHelp makes it easy to get started. Just answer a few questions and get matched with a therapist. BetterHelp therapists have at least 3 years and 1,000 hours of hands-on experience. See the reviews, see what stands out, and see if BetterHelp is right for you. Visit betterhelp.com/garage. That's betterhelp.com/garage. Summer always seems to sneak up on us, but Grooms is the one wellness habit that actually keeps up with your schedule. Grooms are a convenient, comprehensive formula in one delicious daily pack of gummy bears. This isn't a multivitamin, a greens gummy, or a prebiotic. It's all of those things and then some at a fraction of the price. And bonus, they taste great. They come in a daily pack of gummies because you can't fit the amount of nutrients Grooms does into just one gummy. With more than 20 vitamins and minerals, including 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, Grooms ingredients are backed by over 35,000 research publications. I've been taking Grooms now consuming these little gummy bears for about a month, and I am enjoying this because I have more energy and I feel healthier. And it's got to be from the Groons, baby. And it's not heavy lifting. This is easy, convenient. There's a handful of delicious gummy bears in each little packet. I usually take mine, eat them in the afternoon as a little snack, take them on the go, or consume those little gummy bears right before hitting the gym for a little added extra boost of energy. Save up to 52% off with code GARAGE at Groons.co. That's code GARAGE at GRUNS.co.
For kids, summer means freedom. As adults, summer still means freedom thanks to Mint Mobile's summer sale. Right now, all of Mint's plans are just $15 per month, even unlimited. Free yourself from big wireless and switch to Mint Mobile for high-speed data and coverage on the T-Mobile 5G network. I love Mint Mobile. Free yourself, I say treat yourself. I was paying well over $150 a month, and I thought, $15 a month, Mint Mobile, is it going to be as good? Well, guess what? It's even better. I'm saving a lot of cheddar, I'm treating myself, and that's why you're going to love Mint Mobile. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/TCG. That's mintmobile.com/TCG. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/TCG. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, and $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Treat yourself at mintmobile.com/TCG.
August is the perfect time to hit reset before the autumn rush begins, and your closet is a great place to start. Quince is the perfect place to refresh a wardrobe with timeless, high-quality essentials, like their ultra-soft organic cotton tees and premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're versatile, timeless, and transition seamlessly from a casual workday to dinner out. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for high quality, not brand markup. I love Quince.com, and in fact, I will be shopping Quince.com later today like I have done a dozen times before. Why? Because I love their gear, I love the style, I love the value, and the orders and shipping are hassle-free. Right now, I am wearing an ultra-soft organic cotton tee from Quince and Quince socks. I have dozens of them. My closet is full of gear from Quince. Upgrade your everyday. Go to quince.com/garage for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/garage for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/garage.
All right, we are back. Get cozy on the couch. Snuggle up, buttercups. Cheers to you, Colonel.
Cheers to you, Captain, and cheers to the people in the front. They used to be in the back. They made their way up.
Yeah, and there's a possibility, too, because he does tell one of the inmates that he was using a different car. So I wonder if I'm trying to figure out the story A to B to see confrontation happens, is he driving the other vehicle? Does he then go get his other vehicle before he goes to his mother's work? So there's a bunch of possibilities here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just also don't believe alibis from spouses, best friends, especially not from mothers. Because if there's anybody in this world that is going to lie to try to save you, it's going to be your mother.
Say what? We've never reviewed a case where a mother will lie for some bad dude. We've never seen that before.
Yeah, and look.
Shout out to the moms.
Yeah. We know a lot of moms. True Crime Garage. We know a lot of moms.
It doesn't take long. I think it was less than one single day to reach the verdict. Adam Saleh was found guilty of murder, attempted rape, kidnapping, and tampering with evidence.
Well, and real quick, though, like we said, he was arrested on rape charges. That trial happened before this murder trial.
Mm-hmm.
He was acquitted of that, but if there's details online, I could not find them because I was trying to find, in my mind, I was thinking, what if he committed this rape a couple weeks before and knew that charges were eventually going to be coming his way?
Well, a couple things here. So it was a different jurisdiction, and so it would be a different set of courts. And yes, he was acquitted of that rape charge, but then you have a bunch of things that are going to conflict naturally with one another and have to take place for justice to be served. And part of that's going to be indictments being sealed and then unsealed, because you have this guy who is facing criminal charges, and these are felony, big deal criminal charges against two different victims in two different jurisdictions. So it absolutely will complicate matters.
So I don't think prosecution can bring this up at all at trial, but I do believe there was another woman that came forward to say same type of thing happened to her. She was at a bar, flirtatious, go out to his car. She basically stops his advancements and he puts his hand around her throat.
Yeah. Couple things. So you would have to get clearance in lay terms, you would have to get clearance from the judge to include the previous rape charge, which was out of Zanesville, actually. You would have to get permission to include that at trial.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. You're not going to ask for that permission because he was acquitted. It's in your best interest to not bring it up.
Right.
As far as a prosecutor goes. If anybody wants to include it, it would be the defense who's going, and my client was already wrongfully charged in blah, blah, blah of doing this heinous act. They tried to smear his name so they could get a conviction in this one where he's wrongfully charged as well. It would be the defense that would want to bring it up. But he is...
We've been doing the show for 10 years, and now that you're doing these voices, I think we missed a good opportunity for 10 years. That was a good voice.
Well, he doesn't get, there was acquittal in this trial as well. So he gets convicted on all of those charges we just went through, but he was acquitted of aggravated murder because the jury comes back and concludes that Adam did not plan the murder. There was no premeditation from the beginning here. They choose to accept the version closer to the prosecution's argument that Julie was strangled during the assault. He is labeled as a sexual predator and sentenced to 38 years to life in prison.
Not long enough.
Well, where it sits today, he's exhausted all of his appeals.
Yeah.
It's been 21 years since the murder, and it's been...
But he's 20 at the time of the murder, I think 22 at the time of the trial.
Yeah, it's been 19 since the trial. But unfortunately, this story gets brought back up, and it gets brought up a lot of times because there's a couple things going on here. Okay, so you have some online person who claims that they locked up the wrong guy and that the person who really killed Julie Popovich also has involvement or responsible for killing Joey LaBute and Brian Schaefer, and that there's a serial killer in Central Ohio who is...
Well, not just a serial killer, but two brothers that are serial killers.
Yeah. So let's circle back to that. Okay. And then one big part of that argument is that the Ohio Innocence Project was taking up Adam Saleh's case and running to his defense. Not really. Maybe it could have gone that way, but they don't necessarily. They were reviewing his case. That's very different than them taking his case.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, to the credit of those who suspect that he could be innocent because the Ohio Innocence Project showed an interest in his case. I will credit those individuals with this. I'm very familiar with how they operate. In fact, I am close with an individual that works with and for the Ohio Innocence Project. They are very particular about the cases they choose to take on. Extremely particular about cases that they take on. And in fact, you will find this to be true in most states. These innocent projects have such a high rate of success because they really take the low-hanging fruit. That doesn't mean that they're not doing great work. They're absolutely doing great work. They are reversing these wrongful convictions. But they don't take something to trial. They don't file the motions. They don't go through the motions unless they review something and go, aha, this guy's innocent or this woman's innocent. The Ohio Innocence Project, they were fighting to open up the investigation. This is Columbus Police Department's investigative file on the murder of Julie Popovich. You know, all these headlines, look, media, whatever. Open up the Adam Saleh case file. It's the Julie Popovich. That's the case file. Okay. So we know all about the murder here. We know all about the victim. We know how the prosecutors built their case against Adam. We know that he was not just accused, but tried and ultimately convicted in that murder. Sentenced to 38 years to life in prison. But from behind bars, however, he's continuing to maintain that he is innocent. So after his conviction, he turned to the Ohio Innocence Project, a group based at the University of Cincinnati College of Law that investigates claims of wrongful conviction. He asked the organization to review his case and consider whether he had been wrongfully imprisoned for a crime he did not commit. At that point, the Innocence Project, look, they're not taking a stance on whether or not he is guilty or innocent. The problem that the Innocence Project is having here is that they can't get their hands on the investigative case file. What their statement is, they hired an attorney, Don Castor, who sued Columbus Police Department for the release of these records. Their simple statement is that not that Adam was wrongfully convicted, that the organization should have the opportunity to conduct an independent review of the case, but cannot do so because they can't get their hands on police investigative records. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So this becomes a legal battle. And what you have is you have a couple of sides arguing. And I want to be clear here, the wording on this I don't always love because you have both sides that are going to word and make statements and releases to the public, and they're going to word them in a way that is beneficial to their side of the argument. Okay, so this is not the Columbus Police Department. This is something we have to be absolutely clear on, because a lot of people, I recommend everybody go online and read the information for yourself. You don't have to believe the old colonel here in the garage today.
I'm just going to take your word for it.
But here's the deal. Here's what people will suspect. And I'm not going to lie, I would suspect it too. You go, oh, Columbus Police Department, they won't release their records even all these years after the conviction. They must be hiding something. It's not their, at the end of the day, it would be their decision to make, but you have to look at the larger scope of things, the larger picture here. The Ohio Supreme Court, in 2000, a Cleveland appeals court ruled that police records could not be released as public records while criminal defendants still had the ability to file wrongful conviction appeals. All right. This is upheld by the Ohio Supreme Court. So it's not that they have to hold the records, but it's also they have the right to not release them. And this isn't something that the Columbus Police Department is deciding. This is something that the Ohio Supreme Court and the Cleveland appeals courts decided for law enforcement. So here's the larger picture. You go, well, still just do the right thing and release them. I agree. The problem then becomes, well, you're not going to want to approve or deny every single case or records in the same manner. So you don't want to set a precedence to do it once, that you're going to be doing it again and again and again. So because they don't have to, and because the state courts approve of this action,
right,
don't do it. And I agree. Look, there's very few people that I would argue that would fight and want transparency more than I. But at the same time, this was decided by better men and women than I. And there's a way to go about this. These court rulings, it's not handed down by God from above. These can be changed. And the Ohio Innocence Project, I will tell you, have a lot of really damn good attorneys working there. Really, really smart, brilliant people. If anybody could get this changed or reversed, it would be them. Now, of course, this lawsuit would be the first step in that process. However, look, I see a guilty man. I think that they got the conviction correct. Therefore, that throws a big wrench into this individual's theory, online theory, that whoever killed Julie Popovich which was not Adam Saleh, as she says, or he says. It is a she, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to get into that.
Honeybee.
Queen bee.
Queen bee?
How much you want to go down this rabbit hole?
Well, I think it's a very interesting thought. And
okay.
Look, I reviewed to the best of my ability because of another lawsuit. Man, we're getting weighed down with
yeah, we need to call it prosecutors
activities. Yeah.
Get us on legal brief.
Let's get an attorney in here. Look, the most I could review about this individual's theory is what is kind of left online. This individual, there's been forums, discussion groups, and so on and so forth that have taken down posts made by this individual. And also, I wonder if some of these came down at her request, because she is later sued by some people that she said were responsible for these homicides. I can't review her entire theory because most of it's been removed, but some of the parts that I reviewed were interesting.
It's really fascinating stuff. And she reached out to our podcast a handful of years back. And before 2022, everything that she was posting online was a lot of speculation, but it was also not naming much of anything. She'd go onto these forums, kind of muddy the waters, and when people ask for proof, she'd say, it's going to be in my documentary. I don't know if she's working on a documentary or not. When she contacted us, she said, I like what you guys are doing, but you got the whole Schaefer thing wrong. What she told me at the time was she believed that the man with the shell necklace, and she kept on saying the blue polo shirt, was Brian Schaefer. But what she told me at the time was that this individual was an eyewitness in the Julie Popovich case. And that's why these two brothers had to kill Brian Schaefer. Later on, I think she says she has other theories that maybe Brian Schaefer is responsible for Julie Popovich's murder. We've been doing the show a long time. We've come in contact with a lot of individuals. It was the most bizarre contact. It was one of the most bizarre contacts I've ever had working on the show. Mm-hmm.
And we've talked to some people that you could make a very easy and clear argument have murdered.
Yeah. So when I first talked to her, she said, like I said, Brian Schaefer was an eyewitness. He was at Lido's that night, which that's not out of the realm of possibility. The other interesting thing about it is Julie Popovich went to the same high school as Brian Schaefer. She was younger, but this crime took place a year before Brian's disappearance. If you ask her any question, I wasn't arguing with her. I was like, okay, I'm all in, to the point where I said, can you share this information with me? Okay. She didn't want to share the information, like sending it through text or email. I was even willing to meet with her. But when I ask her any question, just curious of how can we connect the dots? How can we make A go to B, go to C, right? She would get very aggressive and very argumentative. And you're like, I'm not trying to argue with you. And at the time when I first talked to her, she would not give me the name of these brothers. Eventually, she did. She also has some interesting pieces of information. Like, she was in contact a lot with Detective Edwards, which was initially on the Brian Schaefer case, and he believed some of her theories. But I've heard from people.
No relation. We got to throw that out.
What was that?
No relation. Just want to, for those in the know.
Yeah, and so she had voicemails and stuff and communications through Detective Edwards. So that was interesting. And she had 2 pictures of the brothers, and she showed me where she believes these brothers are in the Brian Schaefer surveillance video. It kind of checks out. But where it got very interesting to me is when she took the surveillance footage of the Joey Butte case and points out 2 individuals at the bar that she believes are also the brothers. And they look like the brothers. I mean, again, it's not great surveillance footage, but those 2 pieces of information really sparked my interest. But a lot of people that have covered the Brian Schaefer case have been contacted by Queen Bee, and all of their experiences were similar to mine. And I won't name the individual, but there was an event. Queen Bee showed up. She basically made a scene so she could have contact with this individual. The individual came out to her car. She said, I got all these case files. Anytime you ask a question, again, she starts becoming confrontational. She kind of opens up the trunk a little bit where all of her case files were supposedly at, and there was nothing in the trunk. So a lot of bizarre behavior. And so after I talked to her and after some of the other people I know had confrontations with her, she went more aggressive online. I don't know much about it other than the brothers then had a lawsuit. Once that lawsuit came to fruition, all of Queen Bee's actual post, they're gone.
Yeah.
So if you find any post, what's crazy about this is if you Google search Julie Popovich, a Reddit thread pops up. It's one of the first things in the search, and it's all about this conspiracy. But like I said, I clearly remember her saying that Brian was an eyewitness. But then you look into the Julie Popovich case, and everybody that's talking about an individual at that bar with a shell necklace, that individual was a suspect. That individual was Adam
Saleh. Yeah. He was named by multiple people.
But he also admitted to being that person that these people were talking about.
Yeah.
So,
right. The loose part of that theory is that this would have been a similar necklace to what Brian wore. And then from what I can gather here, Captain, and forgive me because I'm trying to pick up the pieces of this wreckage, and like you said, a lot of it's missing. So it seems to me that the loose parts of this theory is that Brian is tied to the Popovich case, whether that means involvement, witness, or what have you. Look, which would not be insanely out of the realm of possibility. They were both on campus at that time. Lido's is a place that many, many, many people go. Like anybody that's ever attended the Ohio State University knows Lido's, has set foot in Lido's, or will tell you, I would never go to that place.
Yeah, but most people would not go to Lido's, and most people wouldn't go to the Ugly Tuna Saloona.
True.
So
and so it's easy to connect Brian to Julie Popovich in a very loose nature. But then the other part of this theory is that none of the cell phones of these 3 victims have ever been found. True for Julie Popovich, true for Joey LaBute. We don't know exactly what happened to Brian Schaefer. We know that Julie unfortunately was killed. We know that Joey unfortunately was killed. And so we can say with all the confidence in the world, their cell phones were never found, and that's a part of their case. Brian Schaefer, he could be with his cell phone right now. That's we don't know what happened to that cell phone. We don't know what happened to Brian Schaefer is what I think I'm simply trying to say. So let me read this quick article because I think it will say it better than what I am saying. The other part of that theory is that they were all picked up under some kind of ruse and they're bamboozled after a night of drinking out at bars, and that this might have even been a person that they've met prior to and arranged for a future meeting, and that their bodies were all disposed of in or near water. Okay, that theory is so much like every other college town theory of some unidentified, unknown suspect who's preying on college-aged men or college-aged men and women. But this article is about that lawsuit. It says, in a unique civil suit filed in the Franklin County Common Pleas Court, a pair of brothers are suing a Reddit user who has allegedly continuously accused them via public Reddit comments of being involved in multiple homicide cases, including Brian Schaefer's high-profile case. The other part of her theory that I could find suggests that this person, the killer, is involved in high-profile cases. Well, that's not something that you can intend to set it up that way, but you can't off somebody and know that the case is going to become a high-profile case.
Right.
And I would also argue that, unfortunately, and I think that there needs to be a lot more media on it, Joey LaBute's case, I don't know that I would classify it as high-profile, number one, and number two, it needs more attention. It needs more attention. I think they've solved the Julie Popovich case. I have no problems with that case. That guy, all of his appeals, exhausted. Many, many people have reviewed the case files, the investigative reports, and decided this guy is guilty of what they accused him of. Brian Schaefer, we have no idea what happened to him. So, okay, the brothers, and they're not named other than the last name.
You
in
can
this
find
article,
their name pretty quickly, but yeah.
Osowski, I think. Osowski.
Do you want to say their name? I don't think we should say.
I don't know their first names because it's not listed here, and I don't want to go digging too much. But they're the ones that filed the lawsuit, and that would be public information. So, like you said, one could find it. They're seeking $25,000 in monetary damages, but requesting retractions of the postings, which seem to be really what they're after here, as a court order to stop this Queen, Queeen, Beee, from posting any more allegations. And as you said, this article cleans it up, says the comments, which have since been deleted by Reddit, accuse the brothers of being serial killers and having involvement in high-profile cases, including Tyler Davis's and Joey LaBute's disappearances. The Reddit user whose account has now been suspended accused one of the brothers of being involved in Julie Popovich's murder in 2005. And in the Brian Schaefer subreddit, accused the brothers multiple times of being involved in Schaefer's disappearance, and even posted a picture from the Division of Police of a cease and desist letter. And also, this is the terrible part. Posted what the brothers look like, where they live, where they work, all that jazz was posted.
Which again, she wasn't doing for a long time, and this is something that she was doing for a very long time. And in her defense with the Julie Popovich case, there are so many different eyewitness accounts. Just like I said, we have some individuals that thought JR, the boyfriend, picked Julie up. So I think one of the things she was going off of is some of the eyewitnesses, the height was a little different. Again, we have intoxicated people. and I could be wrong because, like I said, the interactions, and there was multiple interactions, and they were bizarre, but not always bizarre, and that's what makes them more bizarre. Is there would be moments that seem so clear, and she seems so clear and so intelligent and so put together. I think that's why Detective Edwards talked to her and listened to her. I think that's why other individuals talked to her and listened to her. But I clearly remember her saying, well, Brian, again, a lot of her theories weren't completely solid, but there was an eyewitness. He was wearing a shell necklace. He was wearing a blue polo. That's Brian Schaefer. But you go, that's not an eyewitness. That's a suspect. And I would have loved to learn more about what she was trying to do. But like I said, the communication was so difficult. But there was things that she showed me that I couldn't explain away. I couldn't fully understand without more communication with her. It still bothers me though.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is that we want so badly to find out what happened to Brian. We want so badly to get justice for Joey LaBute, who we know people who knew Joey. Everybody told us how great he was. We've had the privilege of meeting some of his family over the years. Sorry, getting a little choked up. Great people, great people. I think I know who killed Joey, and I've expressed that to somebody who has the power to run down that information or to possibly do something with it. But that's neither here nor there. And I'm not going to take the Queen Bee approach. But
no, but the other reason why it bothers me is because we have everybody here in the garage has had those days, nights, sometimes weeks at a time where you're going down all these rabbit holes. And sometimes you start seeing things a certain way because that's how you want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had conversations with people on the phone where we look down at our phone and go, well, there's 3 hours I'm not going to get back. And sometimes you have to stop yourself and go, it's fine. I'm not a detective. I can be an armchair detective, but I'm not a detective. And there's certain information about this case I probably don't know. And again, feel bad for somebody when they go, I think I'm right about this. And the Innocent Project starts stepping in and you start going, they're going to confirm what I've been saying and thinking all along. And so there is a part of me that is still bothered by it because I think it's very easy to just dismiss somebody as crazy. And I think, like you said, whether it's Joey LaBute or Tyler Davis or Brian Schaefer, like sometimes you get so obsessed with trying to put the puzzle pieces together, and that can cloud your judgment. And then I also feel bad for the brothers. If there's no involvement at all,
right,
to have all these people talking about you online as if you're these crazy serial killers responsible for, again, when she says high profile, these are higher profile cases in Columbus.
Correct.
So it's so like I said, I feel bad for anybody that gets sucked into that world. I mean, we make jokes that at 3 a.m. I'm Googling who killed JonBenet Ramsey, but that sometimes is not a healthy place to be in.
What did the internet tell you? No, I'm joking. So one thing that I didn't include because it's not so important to today's story, but since we've gone down this road here together, I will bring it up. So one of the statements that I found, and this goes back to how I remember the area in the early aughts, the OSU campus area. And while many have challenged my theory, and I'm glad that you have, we don't know. It's a mystery what happened to Brian Schaefer. We do not know. So it's really anyone's guess. And it's a conversation we should keep open. And if I have a theory, you have a theory, and somebody else has another one, we should all just talk about it and explore it together and respect each other's opinions. Because I tell you what, I've been in rooms with you and other people where my mind has been changed. And then I come back to square one where I've always kind of felt with Schaefer's case. But this was a statement that was put out by the Columbus Division of Police that I came across in Julie Popovich's case. This is while she was still missing. So they're talking about her being missing. They're talking about looking for her, what she looks like, her description, asking people for help. This comes from the Lantern. Again, that is the OSU campus newspaper. So and
I think they do great work.
Absolutely. They've done it for years.
Yeah.
On all different fronts. So this is a legit source, as legit as it goes, because we're talking about Julie goes missing from campus. We're talking about Brian Schaefer goes missing from campus. They're both attending the school. So she's still missing. This comes out late August of 2005 when she's still missing. Brian Schaefer goes missing less than a year later from the same campus. And the statement here from the Lantern is, the Columbus Division of Police issued a crime advisory for OSU's campus after a string of armed robberies in the Short North and campus area occurred after the victims had left bars and restaurants at closing time. Those robberies have yet to be solved. And that is a very neat and tidy way to explain what was going on in the crime trends on campus at that time in 2004, 2005, 2006, and it started to shift away shortly after that.
I want to thank everybody for joining us here in the garage each and every week. Put your name on your chair, if you will. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And until next week,
be good, be kind, and don't litter.
In the U.S., there's a break-in every 26 seconds. But when intruders step near, Simply Safe Home Security steps up.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Using AI alerts, U.S.-based live agents help deter break-ins. Simply Safe, no long-term contracts. Save 60% on a new system with professional monitoring during our 20th anniversary sale at simplysafe.com/SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.